Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at a Witcher control Skellige deck, and this one's going to be a little bit different than maybe what you've seen in the past, as it doesn't have some cards that you're probably thinking off the bat, like the Scoia'tael. So I'm going to explain everything I did here and why I did it, and there's also a second version of the deck. As I started playing games, I started to think maybe I would anticipate some different matchups where some different cards would need to be applied. However, I like both of the decks the same, so it really kind of comes down to you, like your own choice, which one you play and whatnot. This one does a little bit better on Swarm Payoff. The other one does a little bit better on card access, so getting our cards but also accessing their cards with the addition of a Purify and stuff like that. But we'll get through both of the lists so you guys can see for yourself. Here we have Fukusha. So on deploy, we get to play a Skellige unit from our graveyard with a provision cost of 10 or less and give it doomed, spawn rain on opposite row for the duration of unused provisions. So more than often, we're actually going to be using this more like a Sigdrifa's Right and going for a little bit more expensive unit. So we're going to be going for Arnagod more than often. We're going to be going for Coral, Burna, Gerd, things of that sort. So we're not really focusing on getting too big rain payoff. However, we do have solid core options in the bronze end should we need them as well. So there might be a couple situations today where I take it, and it really kind of depends on it, and I'll explain it at the time that I take it. But going on to the next one here, we have Karathi Heatwave. I want to banish something so hard that you won't even know it existed. So that's why I didn't go with Scoia'tael here. I felt like just having the Heatwave access to remove something completely from the game is just a little bit more comfortable. We have tons of engine control and things of that sort with Arnagod and some of our bronze and gold specials that I just wanted to have either that scenario banish or that super tall 30 unit punish, but just like obliterate it. So that's why we have Karathi here. Arnagod gets a lot of value and a lot of surprise value. Now, with this here, basically it's going to be gaining 1 armor for every damaged unit. We have a ton of ways to get damaged units on both our side of the board and on their side of the board. So things like Reckless Flurry, our leader ability, things like Rain off Fukusha, random hits off a Coral. We have the Kadush and the Bear Witchers that are going to be able to go and provide damage to their side of the board. We have Bear Witcher Quartermaster that's going to be giving damage on our side of the board. We have Armor Up, which is going to help get tons of, units on the board that are going to be damaged. It's going to spawn 3 damage units on our side of the board when we play it, and damage something on their side of the board. So a lot of these cards were designed to play this way, and they just aren't being played enough. So this is kind of how you want to go about it. And Arnagod here can easily get 10, 12 armor, no problem, and just eat up their last few turns. And it requires a heat wave. Now, I'm ethical, okay? I don't run a Defender and a Sucrus and all that. Like, if you can take care of my Arnagod, then all the power to you. Like, you've earned that. I think that we want to focus on other plays and not make the entire deck surround this one strategy. Otherwise, we lose some of our other win conditions. So if Arnagod gets locked, the other version has a Purify. This one doesn't. If Arnagod gets Heat Waved, well, it's a pretty even trade. We have other cards that go tall, like the Mentors and the Leo, that will just survive. So either way, it tends to work out for us here. But Arnagod with tons of armor and potentially a shield if we do pull off Quen is something special here. Normally we're not going to be pulling it off Quen because the adrenaline on Quen's 3, the adrenaline on Arnagod is 4. So it wouldn't get the shield if we're playing it when we're supposed to play it. So we probably just want to play this from hand if possible. And I think the armor that it gets is more than enough, right? We have the discard package, which is just tried and true. Coral being able to draw a card, discard a card. Whenever we discard a card, damage an enemy, random enemy by 2. We have the 2 discards from the Burna Brand. I have the 1 from the leader, and then our discard targets are going to be the Morkvarg here and the Tursic Skirmishers, which do come back from the grave when we discard them to the melee row. So we get these points on the playing field. It plays for tons of tempo, and every time I post Skellige, I get a lot of questions about why don't I run Scalds, because whenever I run a Heme Scald in the bronze end, I'm always having too many discards, and whenever I don't run it, maybe I'm missing a discard. So what I did instead is I put Maxi in the other version, which I'll show you after, just so I can see how my top deck is looking, so that I can fix things if necessary. But I don't believe that we need the extra discards, just because we end up throwing golds away and really good cards that we might need. So I'm pretty firm on that, and I don't really think I'll ever change. It would take a lot to change my opinion on that. And Junid just makes a lot of sense here, because we have leader and numerous things to at least damage a unit by 1. This will help us destroy that unit. A lot of decks are going tall right now. If you think about matchups like the Gurney matchup, things are going very tall. Any monsters matchup really is going super tall. Syndicate has some tall base power if they're playing, let's say, Bounty. There's tons of different things going around. So we have good options here with the Junid. I like the Kadoosh because we can get the points back on the heal. We're doing a lot of self-wounding, and it's a reach for an extra Witcher, so it's a really nice card to have there. Gird is in place for swarm control. You might not always need it. Okay, so the ceiling would be 7 points if we play it without at the adrenaline. It's like a reverse adrenaline card, so we want to play it earlier the better. But this one here, essentially, worst it'll play for is 7 net points. The max it'll play for, it's like a Hemdall, right? It's huge point swing. So if they go with the triple, quadruple Gurney, we slam this down, we take care of the problem. If they go Nilfgaard double thin with both Blightmaker combos, we can put this down and answer that right away. It plays for a lot of points in these instances, but there are some games that it doesn't get a whole lot of value, and you'll see kind of a bit of both, I'm sure, in the games today. We got 6 games for you, so that's that. Leo is a really good and inexpensive payoff card. Because we're going all in here, we're going to be taking Leo. So tons of Witchers from what we're spawning with the Quartermasters, the armor ups, just the ones we play from hand. It makes sense to go down with Leo. I think there's one game I recall that he was, I don't want to say like 15 or 18 points, but it was something absurd like that. So I was really happy with the payoff that we get for a 7 provision card. It's pretty crazy if you think about it. And whenever I'm running Witchers, there's always some consideration to run Trial of the Grasses, and it's just a really good card because we have units that are going to be 1 power that are damaged off the armor up that we can just shoot right up to 12. And then we have the offensive option where we can just go and dome one of their units that, might get out of control, right? If it's 6 or lower, make sure it's not a Witcher, we can kill it. So it definitely helps quite a bit. I like to have the added security here with the Giga Scorpion. This is really nice to help us get around just about anything we need to here. 6 damage is really good to have, and we do get up to 6 damage off the additional gutting slashes that I put here, assuming Bloodthirst 2. We should often have this. It shouldn't be too hard to come by, so we're getting really good hard removal options here. I don't like Stunning Blow as much. Old Stunning Blow used to be broken. New Stunning Blow, it's not really my favorite card, so I tend to go with the Gunning Slashes and the Gigas when possible. I haven't been running into a lot of Saskia, if at all, so I don't think it's really necessary to run Delirium in this deck. However, if we do run into Saskia, the leader takes care of that problem, so that's one of the reasons why we didn't go with that. And of course, Bear Witchers are good. You could pull Bear Witcher off Quen. It doesn't damage itself, it just breaks the shield. Really good stuff there. And that's pretty much it. The second deck here, I played a few games. Well, I did 3 of each, and I'm not going to do this every single day, but there's been a trend in my last couple days of videos where I've made some adjustments on the fly. I've got some different ideas, so I thought, why not just show you guys a couple different ideas here. This one is a little bit less greedy, so it's got 1 armor up, 1 Bear Witcher Mentor instead, and I've swapped one of these for Maxi for our consistency and looking at our top deck. I've taken out one of the armor ups and I put Impeller. So if you guys are wondering, okay, how do I get behind Defender so I can heatwave something? Well, we can use Peller. What if they lock Arnagod? Well, we can use Peller. So that kind of solves that problem there. And Maxi really actually came in clutch in a couple of the games you'll see today, where I was able to kind of understand how I was going to approach round 1 and, you know, what to expect going into round 2, 3. So if I had to choose between the versions, I like this one better overall. I like the first one better if I'm feeling extremely greedy. Well, not extremely greedy, but greedier, because obviously maximizing the value for Leo and the Bear Witcher mentor is really satisfying. But either of them, I think, are competitive, or as competitive as Skellige Witchers are going to be right now. And I've been messing around with this for a while, and I'm really happy with the outcome of this deck. So, like I said, I got 6 games for you guys today. We're going to be getting into it, and I just want to thank you guys as well for 4K subs. It means a lot to me. I've been grinding this month. If you haven't noticed, a couple days we've been doing, well, several days we've been doing 2 uploads a day. I've just really been pushing for it, and you guys really helped me make it happen. So it means a lot to me, like I said. But for now, let's just keep doing what we're doing and get into the video here, and I'm excited to show you what we came up with. And for the first game, we have Northern Realms Inspired Zeal. I'm really happy that we're on red coin, because I find that the deck plays a little bit better on red than blue if I was to choose which I prefer. But we still do have blue coin round, at least with our discard and all that. We don't have to worry about being trapped.
Nice mess you've got here.
So right away, no hesitation with the commandos here. A strategy that I've found works quite well in this situation is just trying to remove both of them in one turn. So it is a little bit expensive from the beginning. However, it prevents them from being able to go and make copies of that. And if the deck surrounds commandos, then we just took away a really big part of what the deck is. So you'll see here they go Oniro into Bavetta, because now they have to roll that whole thing out again to make it count for something. And maybe that's an indication they have Renew Pavetta, I don't know. But we can just take it a little bit slower now, because a lot of the problem is solved. I remember when it felt like commandos were impossible to answer, but here we go. Lacerate's a little bit unconventional, but I think they're teching for the Fruitsy Izgith matchup with that. We just take out Pavetta here, and I think we just try and take the round. Whatever they end up playing, we can just try and remove here. We have Gutting Slash, Trials, we have Heatwave, Giga, Scorpion. It's kind of annoying. 7 with the shield and the armor. Sits there for 3. I think I have to take the leader here. We've already come this far. And the Juddha's spent. So normally I find it's something you want to hold on to a leader charge if you haven't played him yet. But in this situation it's fine. We've top deck okay. We don't really need the mentors here. Gerd is nice if they actually do a commando swarm, if it actually works. I think mentor just has to go here. Hopefully we can coral or Burna into at least one discard, because it's kind of bad right now. So if I take Burna here, then we don't get the damage points on the 2 discards, and we missed the 1 already. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe we just float Arnagod here. It's pretty well the only proactive play that we have that makes sense. And if they do remove it, we can always pull it back later, but I'd rather them play like a 4 power engine, and then I go and I try and remove that with my discards. That's pretty bad. I think we just heat wave it here. With the second version of the deck, obviously having the Pellar would be nice, but I don't think we wasted a heat wave because it's one of those things where we might not have even had the Pellar either way. And we have a pretty good chance of pulling something that we can use here. But I think we can wait a little bit longer because we have armor on the Arnagod and it's locked. So, you know, it's fine to go and just do that. We're not really taking any self-damage here. It's just too slow of a play for this late in the round, I think. I think we have them trapped pretty well. Yeah, top decking perfectly. And that just happened because we had such a really like awkward round 1 pull and coming into round 2, so it was only a matter of time before we drew something good. And seeing these come out here, we want to kill the one with order. Normally I would look for a chance to maybe pass and just to be safe get a couple card advantage, but I think in this case just too much has happened that they can't make it back from this. Yeah, so we should just be able to pull anything, probably Coral. See if we can pull into like another discard here. I guess the 1 rain on the front makes the difference. I take the Junnet. Actually, that's smart, because we know it's guaranteed for the points. They get 2 more turns of 1 point each. Okay, that's not half bad. And they just obviously concede here. Wasn't a bad game. It's too bad commandos are so easy to take down right now, but maybe they'll see some support at some time. I don't mind commandos. There's definitely worse problems. Second game here we have Guerilla Tactics. We're still using the first deck version. And I don't love Leo round 1, but it's one of those things, man. Whenever I take a mulligan on a payoff card that doesn't have the pieces for it, then we pull into the pieces when we mulligan that card. So it is what it is. Like if you look at what we've got here, we've got 2 Quartermasters and like 3 other Witchers in hand. We still have a couple armor ups and location, so Leo would be fine later too. Obviously playing into control, floating Quartermasters is not ideal, but I think we have to answer that right away. reason why I take Giga before Trial is because Trial, again, could be used two ways, and we don't just want to throw it out there as, you know, the second we have a chance of doing that, because we might get really good returns. So, for example, here, I could trial that, make it a 12, right? We won't, but it's just one of those things. I think we can just play the Quartermasters off each other. It's a pretty comfortable play. We'll hit the armor here, and then probably just take away points from our melee row so the Maddock doesn't do as well. That should just be fine. We will find the tempo because we have the discard, we have the coral. I've got tons of things like that. Now, I wonder if we ever just take, yeah, we'll take that, take the 2 discards, try and find a way out of the round here. Pulling into burn is nice. Now we just need to find our discards. That's too bad. This is a matchup that I would have liked to have those gutting slashes, obviously, because I think it's going to be movement engines based on what we're seeing so far. But it's fine. We have a lot of control tools, so I don't feel bad ditching a couple guttings at the end of the day. But this is kind of one of the reasons why I'm talking about how the Heimei Scald is not always ideal for me. I think we can just play that. I was expecting Incinerating Trap. Pitfall's probably better to see here. We get the pass, we get that out of the way. We have some pretty big top-end cards that when we play them, we don't want that trap to flip. So I'm hoping that if they have a Hattori, then they're not taking another one off of it. And sure enough, the discards weren't for nothing. We got the Morkvark here, and I'm just trying to dig for another one because you see that we need the 2, and we need our another tutor being Quen. So we'll find it, I'm sure. There we go. Now, I'm not saying that I'm playing here, but we can give that impression. Doesn't hurt. Sasuke is kind of annoying. There's a couple things. We could pass, but I'm thinking, okay, if I pass here, it's going to be a long, annoying round of just dealing with, you know, all the traps and losing value on our removal. So I'm going to use what I have here, and our pings were just unfortunate. I don't want to use the 3rd leader charge, but I'm thinking that we might have to. We can't snipe it with anything else. And watch, if I were to wait for them to put another card down, we get all 3 hits on the other cards. So I'd rather just get it out of sight, out of mind, because that's one of the big plays that they have for points. We haven't seen Milva yet, so either they're not running it at all, or they just had it in hand in round 1. So I want to figure out that information as well. And we've got space and time here. We can just play something proactive, get some points off that. I'm not going to do a whole lot to set up the Arnagod here. I think we just want maximum heal value in this instance on the Morkvark. Yeah, I think we can just dunk Arnagod here. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, he's a play, not the play. And I think that's often forgotten. I see whole decks surrounding, like, if this card gets Heatwave, then you're just done. And at the end of the day, it's 10 provisions, not 14. And, yeah, even with scenario decks, you know, that run scenario, there's always got to be a backup play. We take that, because with Adrenaline it gets bad. And I think we might click. Or do I wait? I'm thinking, okay, they could use 3 leader charges and take out Arnagod, but that's actually a good trade. I guess they figured it would heal a little bit. We can just go and take that out.
All that dance.
And I want tempo. I don't think we actually play this one through to the end. It looks like we're doing really well, but they've got a 2-card advantage. So we click that here, and I'm hoping that if it's trapped, yeah, now they start to slow right down. So this would be a good time to pass. They're not having any engines that are doing anything when we pass. That could be just about any trap. We have high provision units in hand. We could just be losing points the longer that we play. So let's go for a pass here. Must be setting up the crushing. That won't be enough points though. Unless there's 2. Oh yeah, it was one of these. Incinerating Spring. So this is like textbook pass. We need them to play another card. If I can get Aldane or another... It's got to be probably Aldane or something. Another engine. But we've seen quite a few traps in this game so far. And sure enough, we get the big play out of the way. So we've gotten the Oneros, like the Onero play, like Amancy. We've gotten the Saskia. We've gotten the Traps Aldane combo. So now what they're going to have left for round 3 is like a little bit of a broken part of both things. We want... Okay, so I missed Fukusha and we missed our 2 discards here, but we did pull most of our golds. Fukusha would be the only one that we missed. And this game's a win, in my opinion here. I think I just play around Saber first with the Bear Witcher, and then we go from there. Would have been nice if I had maybe Bear Witcher in hand instead at this point, because we don't get the damage and we take the damage, but we prevent damage from stacking our row. But we've got 2 plays with Adrenaline. Yeah, even if our cards don't really do anything here, should just be fine. And they realized this, and they ultimately made me wait for like 2 or 3 minutes while this happened. But I cut it a little bit shorter for you guys so it wouldn't be as painful. So I thought I did. But the mentors are going to boost by 1 each. And then Junet goes down, and then Leo boosts by the amount of Witchers. And at this point we would have had 5 out there. Yeah, that's where I cut it, because I had to sit through a whole long thing. But so far so good with this deck. Moving on to the next one, here we've got Invigorate, and this is going to be the last version, well, the last game with the first version. They're pretty much all the same. It's just, like I said, a couple card changes, but practically identical. And so the big plan with this matchup here is if we can prevent the carryover, we just win the game. Kind of like the Commandos matchup, and kind of like Saskia, you deny that 1 play, and then it's smooth sailing from there.
You ought to see the other beast.
Now I'm pretty confident they don't go and play rebukes for first turn. They want to start getting down some engines early. So we see that one here. I think we have to respect these. Again, trying to decide between the two. I think Gig is always good first. And we want to answer these, which is kind of annoying, because we obviously want to answer the Hawkers and stuff like that as well. So I'm opting to maybe keep one of our 6p removals in hand, just so we have reach with something else, and maybe just damage this with discards so that it's the engine's kind of shut down here. And we'll split the damage around here, just in case for whatever reason I want to go and pull a mentor. I don't think that we'd use the trial in round 1, so we don't really care to ping one of the Witchers here. And if we do use it, it's probably going to be offensively in this matchup. So 25-5. I don't have a lot of stuff I'd like to play. We could potentially pass. I think they're looking to pass on me shortly. Yeah, we'll take it here. I'm looking at, okay, even Simlas is not enough to get ahead in one turn. So it puts them in a spot where they are going to have a tough time bleeding us, and they've yet to really establish carryover all too much, because the leader charge they used in round 1, 2 of the charges went onto the defender here, right? Both of them they played from hand were boosted. And this is another card that's actually jacked up pretty high. I think that most of that carryover's gone, right? They'll get some more from the bountifuls, but at least we don't have to play into that in a round. Sure. So we got the cards out. We're just going to go into round 3. That's a really bad time to start putting down Dunka and stuff like that. So I'm happy with how the discard package rolled out and the tempo that we had early on here. Now we just have time to pull into some of our good cards and start to prepare for that long round. I think we'll do pretty well in the long round. Easy pass here. I think we put a mentor down on the pass. Mentors are really good, but they do require that setup. So they're nothing without that setup. And if you don't have that setup, then just play it from hand. So with the other version too, I have the one mentor, so we don't have as often where we pull this card and maybe it's not an optimal time to play it. So we have 2 of the Bear Witchers in hand. We want to put one back. I have a 4th mulligan. We don't have enough setup for that, so I'm thinking, okay, armor up here. We could potentially take one off of the location. So we've got access to quite a few Witchers here.
Go ahead, stare at me stump again, see what happens.
And that's what I'm talking about. Just a little bit late to go ahead and start this here. Now, I opt to go for the leader charge and the armor up because of the extra reach. I don't feel bad about it either, because that would have been worth a lot of points. We did waste one initially, but it plays for what it's worth. And we can just go ahead and use the quartermaster so we don't maybe lose it by chance. So, happy with the way that hand turned, or that turn turned out. Now we can just focus on the swarm here, and this is really cool. It's something that you don't see often, so if you're new to the game, you might not have even seen this style of play, because Skellige Witchers never really took off the way that other Witcher decks did. Right? Colgrim was huge with Nilfgaard Witchers. I think the most popular Witchers deck was probably the Northern Realms one, and what's the faction called in my head? Scoia'tael, yeah, there you go. Scoia'tael Witchers were pretty popular too, but Skellige not as much. I played versions in the past where I'd run Vesemir as well, and I felt like Vesemir is really cool and all, but running Vesemir with the Bear Witcher mentors is sometimes a little bit tricky, because you want Bloodthirst for the mentors, but then you want to be able to boost everything, you know what I mean? So you'd have to kind of do it after the mentors, but like before the Leo, and play it around the adrenaline. And then you have Arnagod that you want to play around the adrenaline and the Bear Witchers. So there's too much in that adrenaline 3-4 range that was just kind of annoying. Gerd is another one, right? So I think we take our Heatwave there, and that's something you can't do with Axii. So I believe ultimately Heatwaving that is one of those things that could save the game for us here. Try and get some Bloodthirst on the board, because Arnagod is... it's time, right? And don't be clicking location and all that stuff before playing Arnagod. You want to make sure our stuff stays injured too. 6 armor's not bad. Now we can see if they have a lock tech, and sure enough they do.
Humans are not to be trusted.
I'd say it's purely coincidence. If you think about the grand scheme of things, I would say more players aren't running locks than
Oh, that
running locks.
it's not for me.
Like, I'll run a lock in maybe... I don't even think half my decks. If you think about it, like, I do like to run locks sometimes. I just find I'd rather remove something than lock it. Because the same mindset of putting a lock in a deck is the one of also putting a Purify. So, you know, I lock something in theirs, they go Purify that. So, let's just remove it here. And so far, so good. I think we take Bear Witchers probably the most points here. Junid's kind of sad, but it's not always the play. It's just a play.
Double the coin.
And don't think we're getting much of a better Kadoosh than the 1 point heal, which is fine. We have enough of a board state to actually really do well into the Leo here. And this is how much Leo carries, guys. That's what I was talking about in the intro. Just casual 18 points. Aglaeus couldn't even beat it, right? They had hand buff, Torque Aglaeus, and Leo just saves the day. And gonna move on to the next one here. This is going to be the second version of the deck. And if you guys are tired of playing against Jackpot, stick around for this game. You're gonna be pretty happy with the outcome here.
1265X for that. I'd lend you a hand, but then I'd have none.
So we got tax collector coming down. And coming into this matchup, I was obviously a little, not nervous, but I didn't know how it was going to go. I knew that from when I played Jackpot, which is not as much anymore, but I had some fun with it last month, I would, I'd be able to take a round off my bronzes. Like, the tax collectors, the peaches, and the jackals would be around with the boat thin. So I'm thinking here that we might actually need to get rid of both of those, because the second that they get to 9 coin, boat comes out, then they're just gonna hoard and have the casual 1 point on each of those per turn. So if I take full leader here, it feels really bad, but I think it's actually something we want to do. And I would not do this if I was on blue coin. I would probably just play down and try to get out of the round. But because we're on red, I have the ability now to kind of come in, try and win on even, go into round 2, see if we can bleed out some of those big plays, and then make their big, huge point swing at the end just a little underwhelming. So in this matchup, we might need the extra points from using a defensive trial, because there's not going to be a whole lot in the way of like 5-6 point removal. The jackals are easy to put outside of that, so the trial could be used on one of our 1 tokens. And this is going to be great. I'm going nuts here because I want to show you guys for the content how like Leo, how scary he can be, like mad points. And notice how like I'll take some pings for the mentor, but I won't take all the pings. I don't think we want to intentionally give Bloodthirst when we have armor on things, so you can still ping off those. And by putting down Gird here, it's not a bad Gird. It's it does create quite a few more points for the mentor. So now we're starting to actually see some golds come out here, and good indication that they're devotion, right? It's kind of one of those things you want to know with this matchup. Do they have the heat wave, or do they have the junior? Look at that. It's nuts. Leo could have been worth more too. However, I'm just trying to get them to pass. So if I was sequencing a little bit differently, then I could just basically play some of the other Witchers first and have that as like the absolute finisher. And where's the heat wave when you need it? Really good, 12 points, 5 provisions. You see what I mean? It didn't require a whole lot of setup here. That's why I like the card. And that's why I feel bad when I take one out, is because I know that they could play for quite a bit. And the opponent had to hover over that one like, wow. Mariel's here. We're starting to get these commitments. We have the junior, we've got the Kurt, the Mariels. We just dump something like that, keep it simple. I think we have to play all the way here. I'm hoping that they say, you know what, and they crank leader and get that whole thing spent. That's kind of what we want to see here, is the trade in leaders. Diggy's nice too. Look at this, 34 points we could have heat waved. And I think normally we'd have an answer available. More often than not, well, we'd have access, or like potentially, you know, pull into a heat wave. Like at least by round 3 when they normally do the big jackal play. This is just crazy to see in round 1. Philip comes down. That is not enough points unless they crank. So we go ahead and play here. We don't take Iron God, we just take Bear Witcher. And I think how we're going to find our advantage in this matchup is passing on them. There's the Heat Wave. Literally, it was the top card on the deck. It would have saved us quite a bit. Peller is kind of good if we need to purify something, but I think we just try and... If I can Fuchsia into Burna into discard, we're doing pretty well. I'm considering just playing something from hand here, but we know it's not a 2-0 hand. So I think we just let him... You never know, though. It could have potentially been a 2-0 hand. If they had that one spender, they would have used it last. We wouldn't have gotten the Heat Wave out. At least now we guarantee that we have the Heat Wave available. Fuchsia is good. So this is pretty much everything we want to see here. We've done a lot of the Witcher Swarm round. So cards like Armor Up aren't going to be as useful right now. But this hand is perfect. And given 5 cards left, and we're getting 2 pulls with Burna, there's a good chance that we're going to pull into either Arnagod or whatever else we're missing. So I don't want to take any more mulligans here. I think we have what we need. And I have no other proactivity here, so we have to go and take this first, which is fine. We do miss a little bit of rain damage, but in a round this long, it's... I don't think it's the end of the world. And we probably just play Arnagod from hand. Because it trades pretty evenly if we just play it. And that actually helps it out. They've added 2 points to it. They've used the Philippa in round 1. They've used the Junior already. The Morelos is out of the way. Like, these are the things that are leading up to now. So, we can't forget about that. Just kill that. Pop comes out. If they spend, we remove it. If they don't spend, we use Bear Witcher. If they spend a little, we use Giga. So either way, that spender's going. Which is the best part. And then, if they play another unit here, Arnagod's doing his thing, so... We know one of the Jackals is out of the way. And that just gets eaten, and I think at this point, it was the perfect moment. Yeah. You see what I mean? That was the last spender. Now, I showed you some good games. And I'll show you an example of, like, when it just doesn't work out. I posted a Nature's Gift deck the other day, and we actually hit number 3 on playgwent.com for trending decks so far. It's been climbing, like, of the whole website for the week. So you guys are great. Like, that was sick. But that deck was a lot of fun. It was like a hand buff variant of Nature's Gift. I wanted to go and make a hybrid for it. I might go back in and show you guys just straight Symbiosis only, because a lot of the substitute recommendations that you guys were making were just leaning more in that direction without the hand buff aspect of it. And that's how I used to play all the time. This was just trying something different. I still think it's pretty strong. Like, we didn't lose with it when I played. And I'll go back in at some point, since Nature's Gift is good, and it's fun, and it's ethical. We'll play just like the straight Symbiosis, no hand buff. Because I have a couple things I would change if I was going to go in that direction. Pretty routine stuff here. I don't like the fact that we're on blue. In this matchup specifically, I want to be on red coin. They have too much tempo. We have to get out of the round, basically, because we can get trapped pretty quick. And I know this here, so I'm trying to play to 7 and probably get out. Not a lot we can play here. We have to take trial. And I used the Quartermaster off the Coral instead of off the students, because I didn't want them to like take a circle or a rebuke. I wanted to make it like a sad rebuke or circle, so I wanted to make it less attractive. However, we would have gotten the extra point should we, or had we put the 1 damage ping on one of the tokens instead. But you see what I mean here? They come down with like this combo. And I love to see these special cards being played without Symbiosis units on the board. But even without Symbiosis units on the board, they play for a ton of points. So we gotta get out. That's basically it. Like, I might have room to play 1 turn. But we're pretty round trapped at that point. We have to. Last thing I want to do is get bled by Nature's Gift. So we want to actually get out, maybe have them play 2 cards versus just 1 card. Because even 1 card down, you can bleed with Nature's Gift. But I'm feeling pretty comfortable with 16 point gap here, 17 for them to get ahead in round 1. It should be kind of difficult. And given that we have 12 here, they're going to have to play 2 cards, I think, to be able to beat us here. So this is basically what we're looking for. And it does it by 1 point. At least they didn't have to use leader. So we get the easy pass here, we put down a mentor, no problem, right? Going on to round 3, we've got pretty much everything. I'm feeling confident because when they go play Ethne, we've got Giga Scorpion, we just use 2 leader charges, done. They play the... or even Gutting Slash would be fine there. Even Junna would be fine there. We've got Heatwave. Actually, that's a bit better for the Swarm, having the armor up. what I'm trying to say is there's no shortage of options to remove the Ethne, the Hamadryads, and all that. Gord, up until this point, if the running Gord hasn't been all too impressive, they didn't play like a crazy amount of specials early game.
Go ahead, stare at me stump again, see what happens.
I do kind of worry about floating something like that, though, if we're playing against them. Obviously, they have no shortage of rebukes, but something we have to deal with.
Taking a base. Would you like an arrow to the head instead?
I just started moving my mouse as if I was supposed to do a turn. It's funny. I'm watching it on Premiere Pro. And for a second I actually thought I was playing. It's a bit of a long rope, though. So Hammer coming down at 6 is actually kind of a problem, because normally we'd have the option to go and remove that another way, right? But in this event we don't. So Heatwave seems to me like the only viable thing, because the longer that we wait, the bigger the problem it becomes. And with the Symbiosis tag and a handful of specials, then it's going to be getting that value every single turn. It's going to become a problem if we don't get rid of it. So Heatwave doesn't feel comfortable there, but it feels like something we have to do. We still have the 3 leader charges and everything. We could probably get rid of that combo with the Ethne still. So I'm actually feeling pretty confident here. Not a whole lot we can play here, but that feels fine too. And I can tell that if they have Ethne, they're just trying to withhold it. Obviously, they've probably run into a situation where full leader's been cranked on it before, so it's never a good feeling.
Look what the Gwent cat dragged in.
I think that's probably the best opportunity that we have for going and taking that. Go and take the discard here. Obviously, I was looking for anything but a Peller. We need, like, more points at this point in the game. And so, having Ethne out there with another unit out there sort of splits our pings up a little bit more and makes it that much more difficult for us to remove what we're looking for. Like, I'm trying to get one of the hits off the Ethne there for the Junod, and sure enough, we finally get it. There he is. And now we just gotta hit that once. rigged. So it sticks. But we have Bear Witcher access too. So at this point in the game, I'm actually feeling like we win. And this is like the crazy part about it, because you underestimate Nature's Gift and you just lose. So we respect the 2 here because the 2 isn't like a real 2. I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to take Arnegot or if I wanted to take the Bear Witcher. So me thinking that they're probably just going to play more specials because I haven't seen as many as I know they have, I take the Bear Witcher. But obviously the fact that they have the sorcerers here, we would have been able to remove that, which ultimately could have changed the game quite a bit. So it's unfortunate, right? They get the extra special off it here, which now they can probably roll into a bountiful. Yeah, it's tough. It's a really tough choice. I think that Arnegot probably was it, but Arnegot still doesn't solve Gezris, and at this point I'm just fed up because we tried everything and it just didn't happen. So we'll give them the win. Well, we'll not give it to them. They earned it, but you know what I mean. Good job for them to win. I was not expecting Gezris at all, and it's just too many points to keep up with. Moving on to the last game of the day, we'll end it with a pretty wild game. You guys are going to run into one of these matchups probably early on if you're trying this deck. I've been seeing a lot of Inspired Zeal. I think it's our second matchup today that's Inspired Zeal. Both decks a little bit different, but still.
It hasn't backfired yet.
Now, I don't have a hand to actually play. It's probably one of the worst hands that we could pull into because we have the discards without the discard cards. We've got Maxi here, which is something we can play.
You can hide, but I'm gonna get ya.
And I kind of decided at this point we don't want to play too deep into the round because we don't want them to tempo pass on us, but at the same time we don't want them to get the Patience 4 for both for the Alumni because it's looking like an Alumni deck so far. And it's not something that I wanted to spend, but it's kind of something that we have to spend. I opt to not take the leader charge here just because I don't think we need to. And at this point, we might have to play something like Peller from hand as well, even though it's not doing a whole lot, just to play down to 7. I don't think we ever pass with 8, because I want to at least have card advantage so that they don't play us down all the way to nothing in round 2, in case we don't pull into what we're looking for, because that could just be bad. So that's probably the play. Make them think at least maybe we're holding a discard package or something like that. They might have one more turn of playing aggressively, and then we can just get out here. But the good part is that we have Fukusha, we have Junad, we have Arnegot, like all these good cards, and we have a couple discard options. So we just have to get the cards to discard. Quen would be nice to see, maybe a throw card, and we should be fine. So there we go, perfect. I would argue that on a pass there, we might even just play one of the skirms from hand, but they don't pass. I'm just thinking, do I care? I know Istred's going to be boosting, and I know Letitia's probably coming down after, and I know that we still have an answer to Letitia, so I'm opting to take care of this before the patience gets strong, because they could use the order next turn or something like that too, even at 2 points. And obviously, having to put down the Pallor round 1 feels kind of bad now, seeing a defender, but we just take the Heat Wave there, because we know what's going behind it, right? Ranged roll, locked Letitia, so we can remove that when they play it.
Spells are a serious matter to be undertaken proudly, with grace.
It isn't like a huge threat on the first turn. I think it's just if you let it go for more than a turn, it's a problem. So I'm contemplating whether or not I should use leader charges here, and I decide not to, because I figure, alright, look, we might actually need those if they pass on it, but they're just going to go all in here, and I don't feel too bad, because we've got full leader. Theirs is almost spent. We've got 2 cards on them, so we should just be fine. Letitia takes Junid with only 1 leader charge, so we still have discards for tempo if they play something big here, and the amphibious that they spent was already, you know, it's dealt with, so feeling pretty good.
Well, this time, yes.
We shall do it, may we?
Now, 1 skirm's good. Everything's pretty good except for the gutting. The gutting's something we actually kind of want, though. Leo might have to go. In this matchup, I actually value the gutting slashes quite a bit. And that's just kind of out of reach here. So, if I put down Arnagod and use 1 leader first, then they're not going to want to play anything, because the alumni get Zeal, but it's not a deploy. So we kind of trapped them here. And to me that's good, because we save the leader charge, we save card advantage, and it's pretty good. We've gotten some pretty big commitments from them. Selkirk, Shani, they're thinning. And we have actually Morkvarg in hand. We're getting the discards we're looking for. That's not all too threatening, given the fact that it's a short round. Go take the coral here. At least there's a little bit of rain, does a bit more damage here. But we should just be good. Huge tempo off this here. And we want to obviously use the Quartermaster if possible, but I don't think that they're going to be running Boilings here in a full-blown alumni deck. So it might be better to save it for something that we can kind of fix for the back row. We want to be able to get the heal value.
A privilege, an honor.
That is actually really good. I want to get rid of the alumni because they can reset the order. This is not overly threatening. If they use it, fine. If they don't use it, we have a really good gutting slash for the next turn. But so far, lead's just significant, so I'm feeling very confident in this situation here.
Clouds of wind
Now, they aren't really swarming, so Gerd is not really going to be ideal, but we have to respect that the student's there. It's gaining order. It was at 3 at that point. Okay, and we don't have an answer to that one, but I think it's just fine. Might as well just take Gerd. Take Quen, Bear Witcher, and then Mentor last for the extra point. You kind of see where this one's going, guys.
The day is nigh when all
And if you stuck around for this long, I appreciate you coming out. And I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I'm thinking about doing... Do I tell you? Yeah. Well, I was thinking about doing like a bit of a draft, because I want to have another shot at it. And I was also thinking about doing seasonal, because I want to do some challenges. So, a couple little things maybe for Sunday, but we'll be back to deck guides come Monday. I've got some ideas for next week. And it's just not enough points. Even if they use everything they've got, and I think they realize that here shortly. See you tomorrow.